I'm not sure if it's the time of the year, but as the year winds down, I often find myself reflecting and kind of looking back. What could I have done differently in my preparedness journey? What goals did I achieve? What mistakes did I make? Will I really be ready for the issues I see coming on the horizon? And have I done enough to prepare for those eventualities? And I know I can't be alone in this concern. So let's talk about it. If you're new to this channel, my name is Chris, and on this channel we discuss emergency preparedness, aka prepping. I want to tell you about a serious regret that I've been working through and what I'm doing to overcome it, to put it out of my mind and try to focus on the work I need to do now. And I think as preppers, we're always regretting at some level the work that we didn't get to over the year. And we're always somewhat worried that what we didn't get to might turn around and bite us before we have a chance to get to it. And regret is really, it's a complex emotion that arises when we perceive that our current situation could have been better if we'd made different choices or taken other actions in the past. And comparing the actual outcome to a better perceived outcome leads to a sense of disappointment or remorse. And we often engage in the what ifs, or the counterfactual thinking, imagining alternative scenarios where our choices could have led to more favorable outcomes. And rarely will we ever be unable to think of how the stars could have aligned better for us. And the what ifs and the if onlys are natural, and they're something that we should accept. But then we should be honest with ourselves and acknowledge that we can't change the past. We're in the present, and our present actions will determine the future. Now look, I have fallen prey to the mentality of waiting for certain things to happen, to line up, to be perfect, and so forth. And so, like most people, I regret when they don't work out. And you may ask, why am I telling you this? It's because I know regret firsthand when it comes to preparedness and to my plans. And I think it's vital that we understand regret with regards to prepping. Now, I know some of you may be experiencing a similar problem right now as you're watching this. Fear that we've waited too long to start preparing, that you're not far enough along in your preparedness journey, that you haven't maybe gone off grid or built a backup piece of property for bugging out or whatever it is. Maybe you've had goals in the past and really haven't realized them. It's easy to get stuck in the way of thinking that one day everything will align and then you'll get serious. And look, by the way, most of what I'm saying right now is regarding issues that I'm trying to work through even myself. I'm speaking to myself just as much as I'm trying to encourage you to avoid making the same mistake. I recently I went home to visit my family in East Texas, and I always enjoy getting their perspective on how they've handled events in their lives. And we spoke about regret and things from our past that we can no longer change. And I try to take all my discussions and interactions with people to heart and determine what I can learn. And overall, regret it's just a natural part of being human. We all have a few for sure. Regret arises from our ability to reflect on the past, to consider alternatives and recognize the consequences of our actions. And it can be a powerful emotion, prompting us to reevaluate our choices and behaviors and potentially guiding us towards better decision making in the future, hopefully. So in this way, it can also be a powerful teacher. It helps us learn from our mistakes and it guides future decision making. This aspect of regret, it can be positive if it motivates us to make better choices. And there are deep regrets and what I would call mild regrets throughout someone's life. Some deep regrets we just simply can't ever put aside, but we just have to live with them. And I've got a few of them. But hopefully you never have too many of those to deal with. And I'm fortunate in that most of my regrets personally are what I would consider milder variety. I have a few severe, nothing too over the top that radically changed my life, some upsetting events, but for the most part, I feel like up to this point, the regrets I have are fairly mild. For instance, I somewhat regret that I finally purchased some land a few years ago, back in 2018, and I was working with it, and then I decided to sell it. I have a lot of reasons for that. I made some wrong decisions. But shortly after that, I could have bought another piece of land. And now I regret not doing so because the prices of land in our area have tripled. And what I can buy today is much less than what I could have back then. And look, I should be considering myself fortunate to even be in the position of being able to purchase and afford land at all. And I know many people save and they save even to get a down payment, even as they watch the precise tags continue to climb. And I've spoken with several members about this in our city prepping forum. They have seen land, even in places like Texas. I have one individual we were talking recently, and he saw land in his area in Texas triple, and sometimes even lots near his quadruple just in the last few years. It can feel like you'll never get there. And to be honest, there's never really a right moment to step into the real estate market. And when you do, it will be perfectly right. Yet there will probably be a better time at some other point. So I've had to spend quite a bit of time with my dreams stalled as I wait for something to happen. Maybe an economic stutter step that would result in the prices going down, a sudden windfall that can make current prices irrelevant. But in my opinion, these hopes are just overthinking the past and dreaming of a future based on those regrets. Stalled doesn't necessarily mean stopped. And I hope you can hear that, because sometimes I get caught up in the thinking that I missed my chance. But I realize the more I consider my future, I realize I haven't. I know that my future state of land and being able to make my preparedness, take my preparedness journey to a new level in the city prepping content that I produce on this channel, I know I can take it to a new level, and that's doable. It's gonna happen. I recently got off the phone with my realtor a few days ago. I gave him the parameters of what I can afford and what I'm looking for. And we found over 110 properties that match what I'm looking for. So the good news is I'm in the driver's seat here. I've got options. But I just have to remember to focus on what I can do now to make that happen in the future. I plan on purchasing something hopefully within the next few months. I know I've said that many times in the past and I've held off. But the market has kind of peaked where I'm at, and it looks like, from a buyer's perspective, it's gotten a little, I'm in a better position, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I do have to remember not to get bogged down and overwhelmed with what didn't happen in the past. And that's often eaten me up a lot of times when I think about, man, I should have bought that piece of land a few years ago, or I should have taken that action. I didn't miss my chance. It's just things are a little more difficult now. It's kind of like walking over unstable or slippery ground. We can't ever really know what the next step will be and whether it's going to cause us to slip or not. So we step with careful thought as we move forward. And look, it's not going to help you to think about the slip that we nearly had a few feet back, or to worry ourselves into stopping about the step that we yet have to take. We have to focus on the ground directly under the foot that we're about to put down. And that's where our attention has to be if we're going to navigate our terrain in this present moment. It's kind of funny. But I always get to a point in the fall, usually around this time, during this time of the year, where I find myself looking back. I have some regrets of things that maybe I should have planted something, or, I didn't do something a certain way. And sometimes I know that I just don't have enough days left to get a harvest, or I regret that I couldn't get to the garden to take care of something I planted enthusiastically in the spring. And I have to remind myself that regardless of what outcome could have happened, if they happened, I wouldn't be exactly where I am today. And look, there are lessons to be taken from both my successes and my failures. And I'm here, not in that imaginary world of thoughts of what if and if onlys. So why give my energy to what might have been if I had perfectly timed my real estate deals, or I'd been able to spend a few more hours in the garden? I didn't. That world, it just doesn't exist anymore. It's kind of like spending all your time after a disaster wishing you had something that you don't have. What you have is what you have thoughtfully set aside for yourself. What you have is your preps. You have to watch what you give your energy to, what you might hyperfixate on and spin in regret. You have to focus on what you have now and what you have set aside for the future. Look, those are the tools and resources that you can build with. They're not imaginary. They're real, and you have to start there. If you're lacking, you know what you have to set a goal and plan for to build in the next year. You can't just stew in the past, have regret, wait and hope for something to happen. I think that's what I'm trying to tell you here. We have to work from where you are with what you have. It's kind of like the old saying, you have to play the cards that you're dealt. The same is true for disaster. Waiting for a rescue that may not come in time might not be your best decision. Instead, you have to work with what you have to make it through to tomorrow. I would encourage you to give your energy to the careful application and cultivation of your existing resources, not longing for some imaginary future state that may or may not happen. So as preppers, I think we tend to focus more on fear about the future. And still for many, the anxiety that we've missed out our opportunities to prepare, build that off-grid setup, which is something that I deal with often. Learn that skill or whatever else that you can think of. It can often weigh heavily on us. And we see a dark future and we wring our hands about what we cannot control. Look, but for me, and this is just my personal take, I'm not so much worried about the future as much as I'm upset about my decisions to wait for things to be right or to simply take no action. And I know personally, and again, this is just me, I'm fighting that upset feeling by trying to ground myself in the present moment. What can I do now? I choose to forget about the things that I have no control over from my past. What can I do with what I have right now? And that's what I would encourage you to focus on. Here's the thing, let me encourage you as well. As we head into Christmas here in a few days, I would encourage you to take a moment to be thankful for your family, your relationships, your health. Be grateful for a warm bed, food on the table, and clean water to drink. And if you find yourself lacking with any of those, you have your goals for next year to develop a plan around. Maybe you need to take that leap and build a community by joining a group, attending a gathering, or following through with some promise to get together that was casually made at a holiday gathering. And maybe it's just food, water, or shelter insecurity you're struggling with or anticipate struggling with in the future. And perhaps it's a lack of space to enact your vision. So what can you work towards now to work around or overcome these temporary obstacles and hurdles? What are some of the things others did when presented with your same circumstances? And look, it feels incredibly unique, but I guarantee someone has lived through it and it either succeeded or failed. And there are lessons to take from each. So remember, all we have is now. As I encouraged you earlier on Thanksgiving, I would still encourage you to find ways to be thankful for what you have and slowly start working on a plan to achieve what you feel you still want in your life. And we have this moment right now, so savor and cherish it. Work on it and don't succumb to what might have been only, but think about what you need to do now and in the days and weeks ahead to get yourself just a little closer to what you want to be and where you want to be in the future. Think of what you do today as a Christmas gift to yourself next year. When next Christmas comes around, if you have given careful thought to where you are now, what you still hope to accomplish, and what you need to do to get there slowly, then do the work. Your future self will have one heck of a great gift to be thankful for this time next year. So what are your thoughts? Have there been decisions that you should have acted on, but you didn't? Did you find yourself at a point in your preparedness journey concerned or fearful that you've waited too long or made a decision and missed an opportunity? What are you doing now to fix that issue? Let us know in the comment section below, because we always learn so much from the community. And again, I say this all the time, but I always enjoy the feedback. I've learned over the years listening to my community, listening to you, and it's made me a better person. It's made me a better prepper, and it's helped me move forward on my journey. This will probably be my last video before the Christmas holiday actually comes. So if we don't talk again before Christmas, Merry Christmas, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side. As always, stay safe out there.